before me. Though the letter never reached the person it was intended for, it did spark significant questions, such as why do prisoners attract women so well? Does real prison love exist, or is it all a scam? And how do these prisoners learn to write so well in the first place? The myth: women must be twisted to fall in love with prisoners. Look, this phobia, I've never heard of it. Hybristophilia. When it comes to having a strong attraction to social deviants, criminals, and prisoners, hybristophilia comes to mind. This is a paraphilia where people are aroused by people who have committed outrageous acts such as cheating and crimes, including the R word and people who are murderers. The thing that makes this so interesting is that it is different for everyone. Some are more passive about it while others are aggressive. Okay, so it says passive hybristophilia. This is when someone is drawn to criminals but they do not act on it or try to assist them in any way. They may show passion through being an advocate for the prisoners or simply enjoy movies such as OITNB and Prison Break on a deeper level, whatever that means. I guess that just means you like watching shows that are very criminal. So I guess I can give an example of someone drawn to a criminal. Do you remember that movie called Out of Sight with George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez? Remember Jennifer Lopez in the movie? She was a cop. And George Clooney, he was the criminal. And remember, she got kidnapped by George Clooney. They created a romantic movie out of this situation. And J-Lo, she, had no man in her love life. Very good looking woman, and then here is this criminal that kidnaps you, and he's very handsome, okay? And you're just like, I'm finally getting some type of cool excitement, and you're like, look at this criminal. Like, why would I tell on this criminal? I'd never get this level of fascination. That's how J-Lo felt, So, yeah, like at the end of the movie, they were trying to catch him. And the other cops asked her, did you see him? And she kind of like froze, like, because she's wondering, do I tell them? Because she is at work and she is in uniform. She's a cop. And she's like, no. Like, she's not going to rat on him because she fell for the criminal. And before that, her and George Clooney, remember, he's a criminal and he's on the run. And she's a cop. So, he had her number, so... Yeah, so what happens is the criminal contacts you. Look, the criminal contacts you. You're at home and you're sleeping. The criminal contacts you, and then you wake up because it's the criminal. And then when the criminal is contacting you, that's when you're like, you're all ears because you don't know when you'll ever talk to this criminal again because he's calling like private. And you're enjoying this because you're like, where are you? I haven't heard from you in a while. I'm surprised to hear from you. That's what happened to her. He randomly calls, but she can't call him back because I understand this clearly, especially when you don't want to get caught in some type of way where I'm like, you know what? I want to be friends with that person, but they know this and that, so that could be bad, where you just you have to think about certain things where you're like, it might not be the best to that's kind of what the criminal was feeling because he knows at the end of the day she's a cop and it's her job to bust people like him and put them behind bars. So anyway, they had their secret meetup in the movie, and their secret meetup, where they went out to dinner. They both was just, it was a night to just enjoy one another, talk to each other, clarify, yes, so why haven't I heard from you? And then he's like, well, blah, 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 blah. And then they had their one night of passion. It was an unforgettable, I guess, moment. That was her one night of fun. And then that was pretty much the end of it. And then she didn't hear from him anymore. Like, it's like, it was a really, really good movie. Probably one of her best movies. Okay, so look, back to aggressive. The next one's called aggressive hybristophilia. This is where trouble can arise. These are men and women who proactively help the criminal they are attracted to. This means they could lure victims in, cover for criminals, bury bodies, and other severe acts. Bonnie and Clyde are the perfect example of this type. I'm trying to think, do I know of one like this? Where men and women help the criminal they're attracted to. This means they could lure victims in, cover for criminals, bury. Okay, I'm trying to think. That one I can't think of. It's not a fast one that just comes to me. Okay, so why do so many prisoners / criminals in relationships? The answer is quite simple. It is a mixture of hybristophilia, the desire for excitement from their mundane lives, the long distance passion, and the fantasy of it all makes people drawn to that lifestyle. In fact, there are over 40 different websites that cater to prisoner dating, such as meetaninmate.com. And then potential consequences. Though it would be nice to have a happy ending every time, there are significant consequences from dating a known criminal. For example, a book called Dream Lovers: Women Who Marry Men Behind Bars. Jacqueline Wilcox Bailey talks about a real-life incident. Two sisters walked out of their long-term, boring relationships to get with prisoners. When those men were released, one of the sisters was murdered, and the other was beaten and tortured, which sent her supposedly posed lover back to jail. I think they mean prison. With this as a possibility, always be aware of the dangers you could be subjecting yourself. If you decide to follow that journey, with that being a solid case, does that mean that all prison love is fake and they are nothing but predators? Then they said myth. There is no such thing as true love in prisoners. Okay, so they said there are some genuine and sincere relationships, but there are also tons of scams as well. How do you know the difference? If you are reading a letter from someone behind bars and they ask for money in any way, it is likely a scam. Do not fall for it. They could either be reaching out to women and men for financial gain, attention with the media, or to gain supporters, just like Ted Bundy, Richard Ramirez, and Scott Peterson did. I know what all of them look like. That's how infamous they are. For the record, serial killers such as those noted above are less often associated with scams and writing letters. You may think that they are great at manipulating, but that is not the case with them. They get away so well with murders and crimes because they are bold, always act like they have nothing to lose, and never overthink what they are doing. With an IQ of below average, more love letters come from non-serial killers who are much smarter and think things through better. Okay, overall, use your best judgment. These people will not always con you. They may be truly into letter writing for human connection. That's kind of funny. because like they crave the connection, so that they're writing the letter because there are many people in jail who do not have family or friends to reach out to, so they turn to pen paling to feel involved, valued, heard, and feel like they matter. Though it may not always be about love, it can still be about companionship and support, and worth volunteering to help people such as them feel cared about. Bonus: how to craft a prison letter. One thing I noted the most about the letter I have how well written it is. There are no errors. The penmanship was nearly perfected, and the message was very well contrasted. So how did someone in prison learn to write so well? One word: practice. Those who write love letters will use trial and error in their writing. For example, they would keep tabs on the responses they would get from their loved ones. When they said certain things, they would then work on perfecting in those areas to get even more positive responses. In addition, they could have utilized other inmates for assistance as well. More perspective is a catalyst for fostering new ideals in learning how to write a moving love letter or scamming someone successfully. If you want to learn to write a great letter, start with practicing. Use your feedback as a guide, and never be afraid to ask for help so you can become a pro. And the final thought: falling in love with criminals and prisoners is hypobristophilia. Though having this characteristic is a passive sense, is fine. Seek help if you feel like you will act on those passions. There are limited professionals that can assist, but it is worth finding a reputable person before you do anything drastic that could land you in jail yourself. Oh no. Remember, human connection and writing to prisoners is a great way to improve their quality of life. If you are talking to someone who has no one else on their side, keep being a hero to them. But always know the signs and be mindful if they are trying to scam you or not. The last thing you want to do is fall in love with someone behind bars only to find out they were using you for personal gain. At the last word from us, we don't know everything, but we do have an opinion on everything. Oh boy. That was quite interesting, right? Oh boy. That's what I have to say about that. I hope that, now you know why women love men in prison. I hope this has gotten through to you guys, so you get that deep understanding here, and you understand that, women can fall in love pretty much with anything, okay? So please like